This is the last remaining stronghold for wild cats. Yet even in the vast landscapes of sub-Saharan Africa, their territories are fragmented. Fences dividing the land prevent them from following the migrations of the wild animals they feed on. Their natural habitats have suffered large-scale destruction, forcing them to move closer to human settlements and bringing them into conflict. To try and prevent the disappearance of these cats, conservation programs have sprung up all over the continent. For 4 different species in southern Africa, just surviving is a daily challenge. In the dry African savanna, even the slightest rainfall results in an array of shades of green. It's still early, and most animals are sleeping. But caracals are nocturnal creatures. Even though the sun is up, this caracal takes advantage of the peaceful early hours to make its way discreetly through the tall grass. Something has caught its eye. A huge nest in an acacia tree. Constructed by tiny birds weighing a mere 30 grams. Sociable weaver birds live in groups and build some of the most astonishing structures in the animal kingdom. Some nests weigh several tons. This huge bale of hay attached to the tree can provide shelter for hundreds of birds. It's a tempting target for several African predators, like the Cape cobra. Adapted to hunting in trees, the cobra is light enough to be able to slide along even the smallest branches. But the entrances to the nest face downwards, an ingenious method to prevent non-flying animals from making their way in. The snake's smooth body is unable to grip onto the nest and gain access. But perhaps the caracal will be able to use these entryways. These cats are also agile climbers. But the branches are covered in sharp spines, and caracals are much heavier than cobras. The largest males weigh around 40 pounds, so they can only walk on the sturdiest branches. There is no way in from above, and like the snake, the caracal can't reach the bird's entrances. But it has another trick up its sleeve. doesn't always work. On average, 2 out of 3 attempts end in failure. The sun is high in the sky, and it's too late to hunt. Better luck this evening, perhaps. When there is a lack of wild prey, caracals make their way to human settlements and attack domestic sheep and goats, a major source of conflict with farmers. This caracal is not like all the others. His name is Duke.
Duke was confiscated from a situation where he was being hand-reared as a pet. The most likely reason was that the mother was shot, perhaps by a farmer, coming in to steal poultry on small holdings, but usually it's a predator conflict with humans that results in the mother dying and then the kittens being found and rescued by other people.
Duke has been lucky enough to find someone who will return him to the wild. In South Africa and Namibia, farmers have free rein to hunt caracals. In most other countries, they are a protected species. Caracals are still relatively common in southern Africa, but are classed as threatened in northern Africa and rare in Central Asia and India. As a youngster, Duke was given to a wildlife reserve far from human settlements. Their aim is to return animals to the wild.
We're releasing him in what they call a soft release method. We kept him in the house for about 2 weeks or so, where he got fed every day. He was given his water every day. So he knows where to come back to in case he needs food or water. And then after that, we opened up for him. And he's been exploring all around the lodge. He can get in and out very easily, off the deck, through the gates. He's out in the bush 2-3 nights. We only need to feed now every second to third day, which is fantastic. He's looking after himself. He's healthy. He's in great condition. He's actually shed a lot of excess fat. They don't need to learn how to hunt, these cats do, just like domestic cats. I think that instinct is probably even better developed in wild cats like caracals.
As well as birds, caracals eat a range of animals such as hares, rodents, monkeys, and antelopes. They use an unusual hunting technique, leaping in the air nearly 10 feet high.
The thing of your caracals, they are quite smaller like we all know, and they can run, but they don't have enough speed to chase the animal from long distance. So they climb up in the trees. And if the animal is quite far from the tree where it climbs, then it will move down to the ground and try to go closer as much as possible to go for the animal that it would like to hunt.
Compared to other cats released in the past, Duke seems reluctant to move away from the company of humans. But he is gaining independence little by little.
Whilst it'll be bittersweet to see him go, it is the right thing to do. And hopefully over the next few months, we'll only see him once a week, or maybe twice a month even. It'll be brilliant just to have the cat reintegrate himself into the existing wild population, as things should be.
When he is on his own, he will need to defend himself from other big cats like lions and leopards that live in the reserve. And he'll need to resist the temptation to return to the settlement to pilfer food. If he makes it through the first 6 months, Duke should have the same chance of survival as any other wild caracal. Reserves and national parks provide relative peace and an abundance of prey. But where there is prey, there are predators. Competition for food is a reality that numerous African felines have to contend with. Straddling South Africa and Botswana, a unique protected area has been created in the undulating scrubland that stretches into the distance. Nearly 15,000 square miles of arid savanna, almost the same size as Switzerland, in the middle of the Kalahari Desert. This is Galagadi, the place of thirst in the local language. Only the hardiest animals can survive in this arid landscape. There are 50 or so watering holes in the park, but at the end of the dry season, there is more mud than water. And what remains is too salty to drink. This female cheetah can survive nearly 10 days without water, but she has 2 young cubs with her who need to drink. Judging by the silver fur on their backs, they must be less than a year old. It is vital for the mother to find a watering hole in the hope that it isn't dry. Their long journey begins in the shade of acacia bushes, out of sight of the park's many large carnivores. Cheetahs are poorly equipped for combat. Their short claws are worn down by running. Their small teeth allow air to flow, but they don't inspire fear in predators. In reserves that are full of hyenas, leopards, and lions, infant mortality can be as high as 80%. To avoid dangerous encounters, cheetahs are active during the day while most other big cats are sleeping, though that means they have to deal with the scorching heat. When the sun is high in the sky, the mammals of Galagadi must find a way of coping with dehydration and overheating in order to maintain their body temperature around 98 degrees Fahrenheit. The heat can be escaped by building underground dens, like those used by Cape foxes that hunt at night and will soon go and sleep in the cool of the earth. Striped ground squirrels also live in holes, but remain active during the day, using their impressive tails to provide shelter. Sometimes they share their burrows with meerkats, who seem to be untroubled by the heat. They don't even need to drink. The water contained in their prey is sufficient. Animals that don't live in dens must make their way from watering hole to watering hole. The Kalahari Desert is a high plateau at an altitude over 3,000 feet. Temperatures can fall below freezing at night, but rise above 104 degrees Fahrenheit during the day. Cheetahs cope with these extremes thanks to their fur. It keeps them warm at night, and during the day, air trapped between the hairs provides insulation from the heat. Springboks have much shorter fur, which serves a different function. The light brown coloring reflects the sun. They also have an efficient internal cooling system. Their muzzle contains hundreds of tiny arteries. Each time the animal breathes, its blood is cooled down. Cheetahs have no such cooling system, but their short snouts, wide nostrils, and large lungs allow them to suck in large volumes of air. Their respiratory tract opens wider than any other feline, a major advantage for keeping cool or when they need to run. But for the moment, this oryx has no need to run in the midday sun. These bovines prefer dry conditions thanks to their remarkable metabolism. Rather than sweating, they deal with the heat by tolerating a substantial rise in body temperature, which allows them to conserve water and thrive in the desert. Compared to cheetahs and other mammals, birds in the desert have an advantage. They can let their body temperature rise up to 109 degrees Fahrenheit. In addition, some are equipped with long legs, keeping them away from the hot earth, though young ostriches are still close to the ground. For them, and many other desert creatures, getting to a watering hole is vital. After walking for hours under the burning sun, the cheetahs are within sight of their goal. These wells were dug in the 19th century. Mammals and birds are forced into close proximity, but they remain alert. The cheetahs quickly quench their thirst, since the sun is setting, and dusk will bring large carnivores to the well. Day breaks. The young cheetahs have had enough to drink. But now they need to eat before the sun is too high in the sky. It's a race against time. The female cheetah has only a few hours to find them their daily ration of protein. The sun is already well risen when a herd of springboks finally appears. These antelopes are some of the fastest animals on Earth, capable of reaching speeds of 50 miles an hour. Luckily, with her long legs, small streamlined head, and light bones, the female cheetah is designed for speed. Cheetahs are the fastest land animals on Earth, reaching top speeds of nearly 80 miles per hour. First, she hides her young carefully in the shadow of a bush. The cubs are interested in hunting, but it is too dangerous for them. For the time being, you must learn by watching. The springboks are heedless of the danger. The springbok is too heavy to move in the overwhelming heat. The female is exhausted by the physical exertion, as well as by the mental burden. While they recover after hunting, cheetahs are at the mercy of thieves. Their body temperature continues to increase due to the fear of a potential attack, a condition known as stress-induced hypothermia. The springboks haven't moved, but the herd is disorganized, and one youngster has become separated from the others. It's too good an opportunity. The female draws on her last ounce of strength. With an average success rate of 40%, 2 kills in one day is extremely rare for cheetahs. But when occasion arises, cheetahs sometimes kill more than they need. The young antelope is lighter than the cheetah's first victim. But once again, the female is overcome by stress-induced hypothermia. The cubs know the risks of having their prey stolen and immediately start feeding. When the female has recovered, she finally joins in, but she remains constantly alert, keeping her eye on the second antelope. To avoid having her meal stolen by another larger predator, she will eat as much as she can in one sitting. Adult cheetahs are able to consume 22 pounds of fresh meat in just a few hours. Unfortunately, this is in no way representative of the species' current situation. Once spread over a territory that stretched from the Cape of Good Hope to Myanmar, cheetah populations have been reduced to a few isolated pockets. From 100,000 individuals at the beginning of the 20th century, now there are barely 7,000 left. Cheetah numbers have fallen so low that the genetic diversity of the species is suffering. Inbreeding in various areas has led to high infertility rates in cheetahs. and increased vulnerability to disease. Humans may have a role to play in allowing subpopulations to interbreed and save the species from extinction. Cheetahs survive in conservation areas, where they live without coming into conflict with humans. Kalahari is one park where traditional people have been involved in managing the wilderness. The San people, formerly known as Bushmen, led a semi-nomadic way of life roaming the Kalahari Desert. When the park was created, they and the sedentary Mir people were initially excluded from the area. However, in 2002, the land was returned to them, and a joint lodge was established for both ethnic groups. Some San have found jobs as trackers, using their ancestral skills to find animals in the dry savanna.
Before the land was claimed as a national park, my ancestors were staying in the park, but that's the time when there was no borders. So they were actually hunters and gatherers. So the men would have went out and go and hunt, and where the females or the wives would stay behind with the kids, looking after the village and go and gather some fruits and berries, like the chamamelon, which is one of our water resources here in the park, and the Henswood cucumber. Those were most of the water resources that they were reliable on.
Where once they've roamed the desert, these descendants of the Bushmen no longer hunt animals, including cheetahs, but play a role in their conservation.
Yeah, for me, I will normally say to myself that I can survive in this area.
To allow cheetahs in the southwest Kalahari to move around and mix with cheetahs in the central and northern desert, biodiversity corridors are being created in Botswana. In these areas, where humans and big cats share the land, cheetahs are fitted with radio collars to study their home range. The aim is to help local people better understand the cheetahs' movements, accept their presence, and prevent possible attacks on livestock. Not all Africa's cats are endangered, but most of them are suffering from the degradation or the disappearance of their habitat. Each species is adapted over thousands of years to a specific ecosystem in which it is efficient, effective, discreet. But if this environment disappears, the cats are forced to move to areas where they are vulnerable and poorly adapted. Among the most threatened ecosystems in Africa are the tall grass savannas and wetlands. Despite their rich biodiversity, each year vast areas of these marshes disappear due to urban sprawl or are converted into agricultural land. In some places, the savanna is deliberately burned to fertilize the soil to prepare it for farming. These tall grass savannas are the preferred habitat of servals, small cats with long legs, measuring 2 feet tall at the shoulder. Long prized by hunters for their spotted fur, these elegant creatures were nearly wiped out. Trading in serval fur is prohibited, though poaching is still a problem. Because of their diminutive size, servals can make do with small prey and less extensive territories than caracals and cheetahs, as long as there is tall grass to camouflage them. It is dusk. Time to hunt. Strangely, the sounds of the savannah have fallen silent. Replaced by an unusual noise. The sound is terrifying, and the smell strikes fear in the hearts of all the inhabitants. The animals flee as best they can. The following morning, the savannah no longer exists. Without the cover of long grass to sneak up on its prey, the serval is unable to hunt. Its natural habitat has been destroyed, and it is forced to roam in search of more suitable land. In the course of its wanderings, the serval has stumbled upon a strangely unspoilt area. An abundance of prey hiding in the tall grass, and a stream for drinking, and for hunting tasty amphibians. But this haven of peace is no wilderness. It's a huge factory, used for turning coal into petrochemicals. It's also the largest emitter of greenhouse gases in the world, located in Secunda in South Africa. Paradoxically, a natural habitat has sprung up, surrounded by barbed wire, an island of wilderness in the midst of an urban area. Thousands of herbivores and water birds have taken refuge in this area, where there is no hunting or farming. Small predators like servals can find a rich source of food here. But despite keeping a low profile, humans have become aware of their presence.
It all started about 20 years ago when we got the area, and some of the people working here were very frightened about these sightings, and they would refuse to work. So then at that time we really realized that we need to research this. We need to get an understanding of these animals and also understand if there's a certain danger to these animals on site. Also having this large number of people here, that was basically what triggered the research.
Camera traps with motion detectors have been installed to count the animals. Despite the rumors, no cheetahs or leopards have been recorded on the site, but plenty of other animals have. And the only large predator discovered is the serval.
There's no other carnivores or any other predators that would prey on serval or being a danger to serval. So serval is the apex predator on site. We were quickly astounded by the numbers of serval. After the first research, we quickly found out that this is the largest population ever recorded by scientists.
Servals need landscapes with high grass to hide. With their long legs and large ears perched on top of their heads, they are well adapted to this environment. Their hearing is more acute than most other cats. Servals are able to locate rodents in their underground burrows and wait patiently for them to appear. While 1/3 of the world's wetlands have disappeared over the last 40 years, this industrial site, covering nearly 30 square miles and surrounded by near wilderness, has become a conservation area.
Interestingly, the site is not that large in terms of larger or other known conservancies. We quickly knew that the animals would use smaller home range than what was already reported by other scientists. In terms of the habitat loss, that's the area that we need to protect.
Those servals are not considered endangered around the world. In South Africa, they are threatened by the rapid loss of their habitat. But further research is required to investigate the impact of noise, air, and water pollution on the animals living in the vicinity of the petrochemical plant. Small cats are able to squeeze into small protected areas, but for big cats, space has become hard to come by in southern Africa. Yet lions are known for their ability to adapt to different environments and climates. In the past, lions were found throughout Africa, Europe, the Middle East, and India, but gradually their territory has been reduced to northern India and sub-Saharan Africa, where somewhere between 16 and 30,000 individuals still live in the wild. Over the last 25 years, their population has declined by 50%. Today, lions live surrounded by barriers and fences. They can no longer travel long distances to follow the large herds of herbivores they feed on. Hungry lions turn to domestic animals for their food, resulting in retaliation from humans who poison them. To save these huge cats weighing between 400 and 600 pounds, conservation measures have been put in place. The idea is to make living lions a precious commodity for local populations and to find new and simple methods of discouraging attacks based on studies of large predators. In the wild, lions attack cattle from the rear, knowing that their limited peripheral vision is their weak spot. For days, this pride of lions has paced the fence line. But it's impossible to get to the other side, where the grass certainly seems greener. These lions have caught nothing for days. They need food soon. Even worse, there are watering holes on the other side, full of birds and wild game. When they eat regularly, an adult lion can survive on 10 to 15 pounds of meat per day. But when they haven't eaten for several days, females can consume 60 pounds in one meal, while males can eat 80 pounds at a time. To feed the entire pride, they would need at least 2 wildebeest or an adult zebra. Other large prey are too dangerous and should be avoided. But on the lion's side of the fence, there is nothing. Unable to hunt, they rest, their stomachs empty. Within the pride, some females are accompanied by their young. They no longer have any brown markings, meaning they are at least a year old and will soon be learning to hunt. The young females will remain with their mothers, while the young males will leave to form another pride or roam the land with other males. For the moment, the pride is well balanced. The females without young copulate with the dominant male. He doesn't hunt, he simply protects his territory. The lionesses wait for nightfall before getting ready to hunt. The temperature drops. A scent carried in the air reveals the presence of nearby cattle. The females make their way discreetly, ready to ambush. The failing light works to their advantage. But just as she is about to attack, the leading lion sees something strange, something she has never seen before. She decides to retreat, taking the others with her. Another night without a meal. Across Botswana, thousands of miles of land have been fenced off to ensure that cattle herds are confined, in order to meet the health requirements of the European meat market. These barriers cut across the country and prevent the seasonal migration of wildlife looking for food resources. Deprived of wild prey, lions venture closer to farms and attack livestock with increasing frequency.
Those that are far from the village, that have the more conflicts with the predators.
That's a big conflict. That depends on the situations. For me, for instance, when I see lions coming here, I can just try to chase them back. But if they keep on coming time and again, the only solution is to take them down, to shoot them and kill them.
In an attempt to reduce conflicts between farmers and large carnivores, one researcher has devised a simple and inexpensive project. He observed that a prowling lion usually abandons its attack as soon as it realizes it has been seen.
We use a stamp, a wooden stamp, just cut a piece of wood, we shape it, just try to make sure that it looks like an eye. So then we use a white and black paint.
The iCow project encourages farmers to paint the rumps of their cattle in order to ward off predators.
It's the first time that I'll be doing that in my role. I'll see the situation and see how it works. But I think it worked because it looks like there are some eyes behind the cow. And then definitely if something comes, we'll say, oh, maybe that thing have seen me, and then maybe retreat back a little bit. We'll see how it works.
They are predators and they are also cowards. Because if they come behind the cow, they start wondering, is this cow coming towards me, or it's going backwards, or it's looking at me, or what? So the time is thinking about the cow is on the process of going, so it works. Yeah.
The first results are encouraging, and the technique is easy to put in place.
We didn't pen the whole cattle. We just penned 1/3 of the crop because there are some big cows that lead the others. If you take this way, all the cows go this way.
Some lions have also been equipped with GPS collars in order to localize them and warn farmers when they are close to their cattle.
I'm one person that always report to the wildlife officers and to come and see if they can do something onto that before I take actions. But I only take actions when the situation goes out of control, because I can't allow things or my livestock to get disappeared because of something that I can, get hold of or get rid of. I like lions. I like lions a lot.
The idea that a live lion is worth more than a dead lion is beginning to be recognized by the local people, who are making money in new ways, thanks to the big cats.
I'm working in tourism industry, as you know. I'm one of the people that is looking after those things. I'll say I'm looking after those, livestock, wild animals. I'll just put it that way. To mention what I'm doing or my profession, I won't even say that. But what you have to know is that I'm looking after them too.
Other avenues are being tested to bring traditional herders on board. Flocks of sheep scatter the land, causing overgrazing, erosion, and desertification, while also being at the mercy of large predators such as lions. It seems that these protection policies are showing the first signs of success. They are at the top of the food chain. Yet wild cats are struggling to find their place in southern Africa. These 4 conservation initiatives provide some hope, and fortunately, there are many more. Other programs are spreading across sub-Saharan Africa. Finances are being put in place to compensate farmers after attacks, and game reserves are being converted into national parks in order to maintain prey for big cats and provide gene pool diversification programs. Cheetahs, servals, caracals, all lions, These wild cats are symbolic of environments undergoing profound transformations. However, every natural ecosystem needs healthy and effective predators to maintain their fragile balance. The face of Europe has changed over the centuries as the result of industrial and agricultural revolutions. Yet against all odds, some curious cat species have learned to survive in the shadows. Even venturing into the heart of our towns. Several of them have come close to extinction. They owe their existence to last-ditch operations to save them. This is the tale of 3 of these felines and their fight for survival. In the east of France, there is a mysterious local legend. Tales of a secretive creature slinking through the forests at night. Able to see in the dark and move like the wind. Some believe it could be a golden jackal or even a stray dog. Dozens of abandoned carcasses are found in its wake. Strangely intact. The signs point to a furtive creature that kills for pleasure, perhaps some kind of wild beast. When dawn breaks, peace returns to the countryside. Only the purring of man-made machinery disturbs the silence. Cultivated fields create artificial clearings in the thick forest. When farmers cut the grass to make hay, a number of animals are made homeless. This radical change suits one curious creature that lives in the heart of the forest. At the end of the day, the farmers leave, and the wild animals return. Among them, herbivores, like roe deer. Hidden in the forest, the creature waits patiently for its arch rival the fox, to leave. These clearings attract animals that come down from the mountains, such as chamois. And a range of other potential prey that take advantage of the close-cut grass. As soon as the humans leave, the herbivores and carnivores use these peaceful spots to socialize. Common foxes scout and seek, but only at nightfall will they have an advantage over their prey. Just like the mysterious predator in the woods that is mainly active at night. It has panoramic eyesight that can see over 200 degrees, but it is colorblind and short-sighted. It is unable to see the color red and has trouble seeing beyond 20 feet, unlike humans who can see clearly between 100 and 200 feet. This solitary hunter, blamed for many misfortunes, is the European wildcat. These large cats measure up to 3 feet long and weigh as much as 18 pounds. When their pupils are dilated, they can distinguish moving objects much better than humans. Wildcats look much like domestic tabby cats, but their coats have a long black line along the back, stripes on their bushy tails, and often a white bib. Until the 20th century, these cats were persecuted throughout Europe. Nowadays, they take refuge in the forests, which provide at least a third of their habitat. Sometimes they hunt on the plains, but out in the open, they are in competition with other predators. In particular, their main rivals, foxes. Willing scavengers, foxes see well at night due to their vertical pupils, much like those of crocodiles or snakes. This is an unusual trait amongst dogs, but common in felines. But the two rivals are hungry for fresh meat. To find food amongst the grass, foxes use their highly developed hearing and sense of smell. They have 450 times more olfactory cells than humans. Solitary hunters, they mainly stalk small, abundant prey such as voles. To find their victims, foxes follow a scent trail, pinpoint their location using their ears, and pounce. Foxes are even able to sense the Earth's magnetic field using a ring of shadow in their eyes that darkens when they are aligned with magnetic north. When the shadow and the sound of the prey align, it's time to pounce. Foxes use these characteristic bounds to break through the roofs of the vole's underground burrows. This hunting technique is highly efficient and is imitated by wildcats, but with much less success. Lighter than foxes, they struggle to break through the burrows. Most of their attempts end in failure, and on average, wildcats eat only every second day. Hunting trips are often cut short. Like vampires, they fear the presence of humans and daylight. In the villages, they are regarded with suspicion. So, wildcats have learned to make themselves invisible and take refuge in the forest. Today, Europe's wild animals have adapted to the measures that have been put in place to protect them. Like this chamois that has come down from the mountains without fear to eat the fresh shoots and buds. Since the 1970s, wildcats have been protected throughout Europe. Little by little, they have crept out of the shadows and into the open. But under the midday sun, hunting is more complicated when voles are active and when tipsy chamois cause a commotion. Sugar from the fresh buds has fermented in their stomach. When the reveler finally leaves the restaurant, the hunt can continue. For the first time since the end of the 19th century, it is now possible to witness wildcats hunting in broad daylight. Just like foxes, wildcats keep in check the small rodents that invade fields of wheat. Anything caught is eaten, bones and all. So who is the mysterious creature that sees in the dark and kills for fun? For more than a century, we have heard its purring presence. Cheetahs are one of the last remaining threats for wildcats, but they are not the only one. Like a detective at a crime scene, biologist Sébastien Devian examines the carcasses of cats that have been run over.
When we find a cat at the side of the road, we start investigating. We start by looking at its coat and in particular a certain number of characteristics, such as rings at the level of the tail or a black stripe on its back to find out if this cat could be a wild cat. Once we have this first answer, we can continue our investigation and take tissue samples to access the DNA of the animal. We take two types of samples. Hair samples, making sure that we have the root bulb that contains DNA, or ear samples to get tissue that also contains DNA. The DNA of the animal is its identity card. It is this DNA that will give us the information that tells us if it's a wild cat, a domestic cat, or a hybrid resulting from the reproduction between a wild cat and a domestic cat.
Wildcats are not the only cats in the countryside.
Wild cats and domestic cats separated during evolution about 200,000 years ago, and since then, the two cats have gone their separate ways. In Europe, the main threat to wild cats is hybridization with domestic cats. There are many domestic cats in the countryside, often not neutered, and these cats will come into contact with wild cats in the meadows or on the edge of the forest. The domestic cat will then reproduce, mate with the wild cat, and produce hybrids. These hybrids will then be able to reproduce in turn with wild cats, and the domestic cat DNA will penetrate the wild cat's DNA. These wild cats will then be genetically polluted by domestic cats. And in the long run, within 100, 1,000 generations, wild cats could disappear from our forests.
Yet there's a very simple way to protect wildcats.
In the countryside, please have your cats neutered. It's the best way to limit hybridization and protect the wild cats in our forests.
If their domestic cousins aren't neutered, they can always count on other wild animals to drive them off. Throughout Europe, habitat fragmentation and changes in the landscape have threatened the survival of many felines. But all is not lost. Over the last 2 decades, the Iberian Peninsula has witnessed a surprising big cat comeback. It's hard to believe that large cats could survive in this landscape, shaped by intensive agriculture. This arid land is one of the hottest and sunniest areas in Europe. The key to surviving here is being able to find water. To provide for crops and animals, farmers dig deep underground. And in so doing, hold the destiny of one wild animal in their hands. The Iberian lynx. a majestic feline with an uncertain future. This discreet animal lives a ghost-like existence in a world transformed by humans. Odrina is a 5-year-old female. Like most Iberian lynxes, she was named by Spanish biologists who recognize her thanks to characteristic markings on her fur. In the middle of summer, daily temperatures often rise above 40 degrees Celsius. The fields are dry and crops have been cut short. But there are a few areas where hills and shrubs provide cover and shade. One of them is the Sierra Morena, a mountain range that extends over 450 kilometers in the south of Spain. This is where we find Odrina, on land that is no longer cultivated, where it rarely rains during the summer. A parched microcosm dotted with small oases, artificial watering holes. Originally intended for cattle, this source of water attracts many wild animals from the surrounding countryside. For Odrina, it's a godsend. She is the queen of the scrubland. All year long, this spot provides a source of birds and water. As well as the lynx's favorite prey, rabbits. European rabbits have made a dramatic comeback after being decimated by myxomatosis. An opportunity not to be missed. Though she can leap more than 4 meters, Odrina rarely chases after rabbits. She tracks them quietly, using smell and sound. Goes for the kill when they think they're safely hidden in the bushes. Rabbits are the lynx's daily bread, making up 90%, sometimes as much as 100% of their diet. Their survival is dependent on this source of prey. Odrina has found a territory where there are plenty of rabbits and settles there. It is an environment surrounded by open areas shaped by mankind. Faced with other competitors, she marks the invisible borders of her territory by spraying urine. Audrina has established her home in this solitary kingdom. But for how long? Six months later, winter plunges the Sierra Morena into frozen, hushed inertia. Thick, icy fog covers the area, silencing the birds. This is the moment chosen by another creature to make its appearance. This is Rafa, a young male from another lynx population further south. He has traveled hundreds of miles through the cold winter nights to find his soulmate. But nobody is answering his calls. The place seems deserted. Apart from a few animals that prick up their ears at anything that dares to break the winter silence, marking themselves out as potential prey. This territory in the Sierra Morena Mountains is promising. It ought to be adopted and protected. In other words, marked. But the smell of a female floats in the air. Perhaps she will answer his calls. Audrina is no longer alone. Lynxes are able to reproduce from the age of 2, but Audrina has only gone into estrus since she has had this territory. Female lynxes also call to let males know they are in heat and that they are open to invites. After 3 weeks, Rafa leaves the hills of the Sierra Morena and returns to his solitary life. When summer arrives, Audrina must learn to share her territory with the next generation. She has given birth to 2 youngsters who will be named by the scientists if they survive their first year. Born in the wild, these kittens are a symbol of the extraordinary return of Iberian lynxes, a species that was on the verge of extinction at the beginning of the century. For biologists, this healthy family is the result of a 20-year-long fight to save the species. For the youngsters, the future remains uncertain, including the near future. They have only a year to learn the rudiments of life as a lynx, like learning to hunt rabbits. After they are weaned, they will spend 6 months learning by imitation alongside their mother. On average, only half the young survive their first 12 months. But despite their discretion, numerous biologists monitor their development. Each female that reaches maturity will reinforce the genetic heritage of this population. Today, Iberian lynxes are no longer ghosts. They owe their survival to a last-ditch effort to save them, launched at the beginning of the century. Anton Alvarez, technical coordinator for the World Wildlife Fund's Lynx program in Spain, is part of the team that tracks each surviving animal.
20 years ago, the lynxes were in a bad situation. There were only 100 individuals left. A census showed that the lynx population was critically endangered. It was the most endangered feline species in the world. It was divided into 2 populations, and there was no connection between the 2.
The rescue program involves genetic mixing between these populations, reproduction in captivity, and reintroduction to the wild. To follow them closely and evaluate their chances of survival, the cats are equipped with radio collars.
VHF collars have to be pinpointed. In other words, an operator has to go out with an antenna to identify the collar from several locations, enabling the triangulation of its exact position.
The priority is to ensure the genetic diversity of the survivors.
We know what genes are found in certain populations and those found in captivity. So we're releasing the lynxes that are most needed in those places. Doing this, we are trying to increase genetic diversity as much as possible.
The fight against inbreeding is paramount because the species is subject to so many other dangers, including getting run over, poisoning, and poaching. Despite this, the results are encouraging. In 2022, there were more than 1,200 individuals, 12 times more than 20 years ago.
The future of the Iberian lynx looks promising, but we mustn't forget that we have to keep working on it. We need to reduce the main threats, and until we have at least 750 breeding females in the Iberian Peninsula, we will not have a favorable conservation status.
The return of these cats brings a ray of hope to all wildlife rehabilitation initiatives. It is possible to reverse the decline of a species. Iberian lynxes are now colonizing new territories, thanks to dynamic protection measures and abundant rabbits. Recently, they've even been spotted on the outskirts of Barcelona and as far away as Portugal. Future generations may end up colonizing the south of France. Iberian lynxes will always be a source of conflict. Though many will fight for their protection, they are sure to face poaching by hunters and opposition from sheep farmers. Humans have a love-hate relationship with cats, a relationship that has recently been put to the test by an extraordinary geological event on the borders of Europe. Off the coast of Africa, the Canary Islands are part of Spain and the old continent. But tall basalt stacks betray the island of La Palma's volcanic origins. Europeans colonized the fertile valleys and introduced a new species in order to control rodents, domestic cats. For nearly 7,000 years, these felines, originally from ancient Egypt, have taken up residence in our homes. Today, 500 million of them populate our planet. Yet this cat shares 95% of its genome with tigers, as well as some of their instincts. When a female cat sniffs the pheromones of a healthy male, she answers the call of the wild. Our journey takes us to a town made of volcanic rock, coated with whitewash and bright blue paint. The streets are narrow, twisted, and steeply sloped. Over the centuries, Greeks, Arabs, and Spaniards arrived in the Canary Islands and neighboring Morocco and built this paradise for cats. A patchwork of smells carries important information, if you know what they mean. This cat's unique smell has a message. I'm not well. Leave me Message received. Our cat has lost its appetite. Its hormones are hard at work. For the last 4 days, the males in the area have known that she is in heat. They're able to detect the strong pheromones from over a mile away. Cats smell these odors using a gland in the top of their mouths called the Jacobson's organ. This new message is as strong as it is intoxicating. A female in heat produces 5 or 6 eggs that can be fertilized by 5 or 6 different males. Despite their domestication, the cats in La Palma retain their wild side. Though they are usually placid, during coitus they can become uncontrollable, violent, and determined. Much like the volcano that gave birth to the island. In 2021, after lying dormant for half a century, the Cumbre Vieja, or Old Summit volcano, began erupting. For 3 months, the volcano spewed out molten rock and sent ash 4 miles into the air. Lava spilled out from Cumbre Vieja at speeds of up to 2,000 feet per hour. Below, roads and electricity were cut off. Towns came to a standstill, plunged into darkness, even during the day by plumes of ash. Lava poured out unimpeded, piling up to 20 feet deep in some places. Enough to engulf the houses in its path and their inhabitants. Houses were cut off like islands in a sea of lava, so owners could not return to save their cats, who remained alone to face the Earth's wrath. It was the longest volcanic eruption in living memory in La Palma. For more than 3 months, the volcano buried the island under a cloud of ash and toxic gas. The island's topography changed dramatically. Trapped in this charred world, the survivors were forced to adapt. The pads of their paws suffered in the abrasive, hot ashes. Their whiskers, used to detect vibrations in the air, shriveled up in the intense heat. The cats had to be rescued before the volcanic ash damaged their lungs and made the air unbreathable. The situation was critical since cats can only survive 3 days without water. Their salvation came in the shape of people like Ricardo Hernandez Rodriguez.
I have a company that provides services for animals. Together with some volunteers and co-workers, we rescued and helped many families during the volcanic eruption. I decided to save the domestic cats because if I didn't do it, no one else would, and because I feel capable of doing it.
With or without authorization and taking major risks, the volunteers headed into the exclusion zone, braving toxic gases and ash.
The animal rescue operations during the volcano were a bit chaotic at first. When the volcano erupted, there were people who were away and could not get back to their homes. Then the security forces couldn't cope with everything.
Cats know how to endear themselves. They depend on us for their vital needs and care, but claim total independence at the same time.
When I see a stray cat, what I feel is a mixture of anger and shame. Anger because I know that they are in the streets because of us. And shame because both civilians and the government, not all of them because there are some people who do everything they can for them, but there are others who do nothing. We do not do everything we can.
Within a few days, dozens of cats were removed from devastated areas and returned to their owners. After 3 months of continual eruption, the ash cloud dispersed, and the river of lava came to a standstill. Some houses had a narrow escape. Miraculously, our wanderer has survived. In this post-apocalyptic world, she can no longer rely on scent and pheromones to find her way. Fortunately, like most cats, she can use visual clues to retrace her steps from a distance of about 10 miles. The lava has changed the face of the coastline, but the outline of the volcano and the direction of the sun remain the same. Her home has been spared by the lava's tentacles. But is covered with ashes. The volcanic ash contains traces of a recent smell. It's not her owner, since he hasn't returned yet. But that of another cat she knows well. Her brother. Throughout their lives, cats remember their brothers and sisters, as well as their mother and owners. They use a range of clues stored in their memories to identify them. Their smells, their sounds, and their appearance. Though they often live solitary lives, cats retain a sense of family. Their ability to identify and discern familiar figures and opportunities has allowed them to become domesticated. Our attachment to cats and the awareness of the threats they face mean we have managed to narrowly avoid the extinction of several species. Luckily, all wild cats in Europe are prolific breeders. They can give birth to multiple litters over their lifetime, as long as we are able to preserve their habitats for their long-term survival.